it didn't take long for me running around as a technician to fall in love with the industry.
Before I knew Nancy, she was just the voice on the training DVD.
Now, when I sit back and I look at the depth of responsibility for 10,000 technicians and 4,500 sales, making sure that they're trained, it blows my mind a little bit. FYI, just because they have 8 legs does not mean they use them to hug. In fact, they don't like being hugged.
Welcome to episode number 10 of the Beyond the Pest podcast. We've reached double digits. I'm one of your hosts, Michael Thome.
And I'm the other one, Jen Sweeney Ingram.
Today, we have the privilege of chatting with Nancy Troyano. She is the Senior Director of Sales and Service Academies for Rentokil Terminix. If you guys had listened to our holiday episode, she's one of the folks that helped me get to where I am in the industry. So super excited to chat with her about how she got where she is, her love for all things crustacean, and her inability to keep her hands off of things. So hope you guys enjoy episode number 10 of the Beyond the Pest podcast.
Everyone's coffeeed.
Yeah. Got some crazy storms here.
Did you get them too?
We did a bunch of yard work yesterday, and I had like those, the brown lawn bags, and I tucked them up on my front porch so they wouldn't blow away. And I got up this morning, they're just gone. No idea where they are. I drove around the neighborhood because I don't want to be that guy whose garbage blows in the neighbor's yard. No idea where they are. Just completely gone. So,
well,
yeah,
welcome. Cool. It's cool that you're here. Nancy, I've always wanted to meet you in person, and you were in Nashville like a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
And you gave your talk, and I was like, oh, she did such a good job. And then we didn't meet. So
I would have loved to have met you.
Yeah, I would have loved to have met you too. So it's just one of those things.
Well, thank you for having me on here. I'm honored to be a guest today.
Excited. It's I think it's kind of cool to have, for anybody that listened to our holiday episode, I mentioned Nancy and being a big part of why I am where I am today. So, I don't know, kind of a cool moment to get down and chat with her about, who helped her get to where she is in the industry and kind of like that process. So I'm excited to chat with you today, Nancy. I know part of the Nancy origin story, but I don't think that I know all of it. So I'm excited to learn a little more.
Yeah. So, you want me to jump right into the Nancy origin story, or?
Yeah,
absolutely.
Let's dive right in.
All right.
Can we start even going back a little bit, because I've crept on you a little bit. So I have a little bit of a background, but you do so much, and your interests are all over the place, including crustaceans, which I want to get into a little bit. I think that's really cool. So can you tell us a little bit about your childhood to start off with, if that's okay?
Sure.
Or how you got interested in maybe bugs, or what, even if not bugs, what is it? Yeah.
Yeah, I was always a critter catcher. And I have an identical twin, so we were like the neighborhood terrors. Like you would find us in the creek. We were like those kinds of kids. You would find us in the neighborhood creek catching things. And I never grew out of it. And so when I went away to school, I was very interested in biology and animals naturally. And so I wound up getting my associate's degree in veterinary technology and my license to be a vet tech. And then I was still not, I would say, not all the way inspired. I still didn't really know what I wanted. I loved being a vet tech, but I knew I wanted to keep going to school. But I didn't quite fit the veterinary route after being a vet tech. So I did, I worked as a zookeeper. I continued to get my biology degree, but as a vet tech, I worked as a zookeeper. I had a few near-death experiences there. But I always loved
we can't gloss over that. We can't gloss over zookeeper near-death experiences.
And where are we right now?
A camel.
Yeah, where are we at? Okay, what zoo and what animal?
What state are we in right now?
So
where are
Pennsylvania.
We?
So Pennsylvania. So large regional zoo in Pennsylvania, and I did have an encounter with a camel that was not very pleasant. I saw my life flash before my eyes. I maybe had made some poor choices getting too close to wolves. At the end of the day, my route in the morning also included a very moody ostrich who would kick at me. And so every morning, I'd have a shovel in my hand to go and feed this ostrich. And I thought about that. Like, how long can I actually do this? Like every morning, like most people go in and they sit in front of a computer, and I go in and I, have to put my dukes
Get
up to
all
an ostrich in the morning just to make sure that, I don't get hurt. Um,
are
but it was fun.
are all ostriches and camels just moody in general, or did you just get a particularly, like, ornery pair?
Some of them can be very playful and some of them can get very attached to people. I just the ostrich that we had was just very moody, and he just wasn't like was just not hearing it. Like it was like his way or the highway, and he wanted his food, but then he like wanted to beat you up when you gave it to him too. Like he was like, "Yeah, now take that." Like and the camel was like young and very playful, and his name was Baby. And he was anything but, like he was enormous, but he was so playful that he was dangerous. And so I think he was playing with me when he grabbed my ponytail and flung me backwards.
Oh
As I was
my
doing a Meet the Zookeeper to a bunch of middle schoolers on the other side of the fence.
oh
So
my
you can
gosh.
imagine my humiliation. They're like cheering for the camel because I mean, this has got to be like the greatest class
Field
trip that
trip.
you could probably have at like, in elementary school or in middle school to watch the zookeeper get their butt kicked by a camel. But encounters like that.
Okay.
Um and I always loved like I said, I love grabbing critters, so going for like the herps, the snakes, the turtles, the frogs, like that was my thing. So I thought that's where I'm gonna land. And at that point I wasn't super interested in insects. So I started my master's degree and I started with herpetology. But at the same time, I love teaching. And so I was teaching in the vet tech program at the community college, the same one that I graduated from, and they asked me to take on veterinary parasitology. So I had to make myself an expert as I'm like learning the curriculum to teach it. I mean, I went through it, but that it's one thing to go through and one
Yeah.
thing to be an expert and teach it. So
Mhm.
I'm like making myself an expert. So we get to the section of insect transmitted diseases, and that was it. It was like a love affair for me. It was like hearts
Huh.
coming out of my eyes, and I'm like, this is so because I love a good sassy animal. I mean, if you don't know me, I don't back down from like an encounter, and I'm willing to just take a bite or a hit or whatever for the experience. And so like I get to the insect transmitted diseases, and I was like, this is so fascinating. So here you have these critters that are so tiny and they don't have like the logical brain that we have, no gray matter, yet they continue to make us ill or kill us every single year in the hundreds of thousands and millions. And this is what I want to do. I want to know more about this. So I went to my professor, and I had just like I was in my first semester with my master's degree, and I had linked up. One of my advisors was a herpetologist, and I went to him and I said, "Hey, like I know I was going to do this, but I want to know how I can be an expert in insect transmitted diseases and like the insect side." And he said, "Well, first you have to become an entomologist and then you can specialize." And that's what I did. I changed course completely. There was an entomologist in my department who had just graduated from NC State. So he was just like full of enthusiasm and I was his only student. And so he
Nice.
basically like tutored me and I got to take all of the entomology classes and then I would do like I would get classes that were not even offered. Like he would create them for me. So
Wow.
then I applied to Virginia Tech for my PhD in medical and veterinary entomology, and wound up doing that there. And so by the time I got to Virginia Tech, I felt very well prepared as an entomologist, and I did insect transmitted diseases. I did disease transmission by mosquitoes there, and I mean that was my start part one of that. I still didn't know I was going into the industry at that point. I I pictured myself at some prestigious job, maybe with like the CDC investigating like disease outbreaks or I was my true passion is teaching. Like I love community colleges. So my dream job was actually being able to teach at a community college because I love that sense of um you're working hard and you're going to school full time and people are like when you make decisions like that you're serious about what you want to do and all about just helping the non-traditional learner or you're 18 years old and you don't know what you want to do and you're looking for inspirations. I love the whole community college culture, so
Mhm.
that's what I wanted to do. And I thought that I had a job at that actually at the same community college where I had graduated from, and it was 2009 when I graduated, We were in a recession. And so I basically got the verbal, like, hey, we're going to offer you this position. And so my wife, who's a veterinarian, she signed a contract with a local animal hospital. We moved back up to Pennsylvania, and then I was told right before we moved back up, oh my gosh, the college went on a hiring freeze. We're not going to be able to extend that position to you after all. And I was stuck. I was stuck geographically. We had signed. We had a 2-year-old girl, little girl at the time, and I was pretty bitter. I was like, I just spent the last 12 years in
Yeah.
school. I'm working.
Mm.
So somebody had said, like, Deanie Miller, who was a Virginia Tech professor, big with the bed bugs and the cockroaches. She said to me, "Listen, the the pest control industry needs women." And she's like,
Cool.
just try it. And I was like, well, I have nothing else to do. So I wound up interviewing locally with Rentokil. It was really an Ehrlich footprint at the time where I was. And they said, hey, we're growing. We have nothing for you in the technical department right now, nothing in training. But if you want to take a job as a technician, you have no experience in the pest management industry. So pretty much like when something does come open, we're going to hire somebody that has experience. You have none. And so I said, okay. And I took a route and I ran a mixed commercial and residential route for almost a year before getting a job in training as the first official trainer in the technical department. But it didn't take long for me running around as a technician to fall in love with the industry. And like everybody else, once you get exposure, you don't look anywhere else because all of your needs essentially are being met. You feel good about yourself. You're never bored. For me, lots of sassy things coming at me. So
All the time. I was told that too. I started as a technician as well and was told,
nice.
it's best to start as a technician to know who you're teaching. Um, did you find too that it was much easier, I imagine, to teach them once you had done it yourself?
Honestly, I don't think I would be where I am today had I not done that.
Yeah.
It made a night and day difference. Like you can't, not only does it give you your street cred, but even in terms of understanding what's needed in terms of like what training is like relevant, what's not, and really you know, what makes technicians and sales folks successful. How would I really be able to understand that perspective if I hadn't lived it? I can't imagine. I think it would have taken a lot longer for me to pick up on certain things, to say
I
the
think
least.
until you understand what the day-to-day life of a technician looks for, it's
Yeah.
super hard to ask them to do anything, right? Like
Yeah.
you're in this vacuum, you're in this bubble, and you think, oh, this is how it should work. But until you're actually out there running, you don't really understand what they're going through. It's funny when you were talking about the you'll take the bite thing. Have you guys ever read this book?
Oh, I have
No.
it.
Do
I
you?
have an
Okay.
autographed copy.
Do
Yes.
you really? Yes. So this is Jen, if you haven't had a chance, this dude literally just goes out and takes bites and stings and then like rates how bad it hurts.
Oh, is that Schmidt?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep. Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
Justin.
yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
I didn't
So
know there was a book.
yeah. So it's literally he
Yeah.
wrote a book about like, hey, I got bit or stung by this and this is how bad it hurts. So that's kind of what made me think
Yeah,
of.
he's like one of my heroes. I was so thrilled to be able to meet him and just sit down and talk to him.
That's awesome.
So
What was that like? And where was that?
Oh, very cool. It was at an ESA meeting. He was there promoting his book. And so I like made a beeline for him, and I think he was a little surprised. I might have come on a little strong. I was very excited. But he was just like so down to earth, like really nice guy. We just sat down. He was like, "Hey, you want to sit down and chat?" I was like, yeah." Yeah, very cool.
Nancy, when you were at Virginia Tech and you were getting your master's degree, was there any conversation about industry? Like, did you talk about, is that a thing that was presented to you as an option really as a student?
So, no, but in fairness, there were people there, there were grad students there that were focusing on urban entomology under Deanie Miller, and I was not one of them. Deanie was on my advisory board, but I was focusing on medical and veterinary entomology. So but I can tell you that Deanie would bring her students out into the industry to test products, and so they had a ton of exposure while they were grad students. They probably did have those conversations about opportunities in industry, and I just didn't.
Okay. I think that's Jen and I've had this conversation that as an industry, we don't do a great job of advertising in academia that, hey, we're a really cool option for you when you leave school. You know what I mean? There's a lot of folks that just think
Oh,
that you go the
100%.
research or the teaching route. You know what I mean? And we
Yeah.
don't do a great job of advertising.
Oh,
I
I
think
couldn't
that's
agree more. And I think a lot of professors too, they want you to go into the research route or teaching route. It's just it's a whole different thing to talk about going onto the manufacturing side or going as a technical director somewhere right in the industry. I would have loved to have had more exposure to that whole world. So yeah, agree.
I would have too. I think back to my time at A&M, and I even had to present to pest control operators for like their local conference every year. And even still, even being right there,
Yeah.
it still was like, because you just don't know your options until somebody tells you really
Well,
what
how
they
about
are,
it?
unless you stumble into
No,
it
it's
like so
true.
many of us do.
Yeah,
I think
it's
that's
true.
one of the cool things about Pest World every year is NPMA giving students an opportunity to get in front of a group and present their research and talk about what they're working on and you know just kind of connecting the two, the work that Zach does down at UK, trying to figure out like, hey, how does our research impact what's actually going on in the field, and so there is resources out there. I just think that collectively we have to do a better job of presenting ourselves, you know,
I
on the
couldn't agree more. I also think that we have to do a better job just recruiting people into the industry, regardless of whether they come from academia or wherever they come from. Just like showing our benefits, our like the value. I mean, we all picked up whether we came from academia or not. So many of us are here and we're here to stay because we know what an amazing industry this is. And I don't think we do a great job conveying that. I bristle when I hear people say exterminator. I know that, and that's not like disparaging the names of people's companies. I get that, but we're pest management professionals in every way. We are not like when I think of an exterminator, I just think of somebody that has a heavy pair of boots and a spray can. When I think about pest management professionals, that's who we are. This is a science backed industry and it's a career. You've got work-life balance, you have, I mean, Mike, I mean, you've got all of you can raise a family, you it pays well, you work hard, but you see the benefits of it.
Yeah.
Company vehicle, paid skills training. I mean, right now, um, college enrollment is at an all-time low. Like I look at my daughter at 19 years old almost, and she's hyper aware of the debt that she's going to go into at a 4-year school. And I never had that sense of awareness or like even the sense of fear. But
No.
that's what this generation, this up and coming generation has now. And so to have paid skills training, to be able to step into a career that has continuing education and credentialing and licenses and all of this great potential, we as an industry have to do better, I think, just conveying who we are and what we're made of and what we have to offer.
There's so much opportunity for growth in what we're doing. You know what I mean? Like if you want to be a technician for the rest of your career, you can make an amazing living doing that. You have the
Yes.
option to move into, like some sort of branch manager, operations managers, doing what I'm doing now. You know what I mean? HR. There's just so many opportunities, and the great thing is as I got out of being a technician in one office and starting to get more exposed to the industry, like how cool it is to be able to make friends with people like Jen and make friends with people from other companies and continue to learn and develop together. And yeah, one of the questions I would always
Aw,
ask when I was interviewing technicians is, how do you feel about puzzles? Because I think that
yeah.
what we do like every day is like we literally just solve puzzles every day,
Yes.
right? So if you don't like that, this might not be a great fit for you. But yeah, like I said, I think there's definitely room for opportunity on that. So
I was thinking about it too, like why do I love the technical aspect in teaching so much? Because unlike you, Nancy, I think I didn't love the concept of teaching at first. I think I was so passionate about it. And I think through being passionate about it, you just want to tell other people about it. And that is
Fair.
teaching,
Yeah.
which is so cool. But I was thinking, like, why do I love it so much in the pest control industry? Because I did teach at a high school for a little bit, just,
Nice.
subbing, getting involved in that. And I think it's because they're adults, kind of like you said about the community college. When you said
Yes.
that, I was like, oh, light bulb moment. They already want to work with their hands. They're there, they're
Mhm.
adults. And they, yeah, they're just entering into career. And so passionate. You're like, let me show you the ways of all the different things that you can do.
Yes. Yeah,
Because
it's
for
the
us
whole
too, it's
applied
not
learning
like,
thing, right, Jen?
yeah, it's like,
Yeah.
it's not just the bugs. Something about the bugs, like I try to tell people, the bugs actually rule the world. They're like little robots, and it's just kind of crazy when it's like you like realize it, but
Yeah.
you're like all the things that you can do now, all the skills that you learn, the even the communication skills. I tell all of the technicians I feel like we need a dual degree in psychology doing this job because you will come across every type of person. And once you get into kind of sales and talking to them about the service, then you're going to have to, learn about how they take in information. And it's just fascinating.
Yeah,
And that's why
it's a
we say,
people business just as much as it's a pest business.
mhm,
Exactly.
yeah,
Yeah.
so cool.
And it's a business. If there's one thing that I wish that I had more schooling on, it's the business aspect because
Yeah.
that's something that I've had to learn. But I'm so glad I was a technician for that reason too. Just like the pressures of knowing that you had to be productive. You didn't have all day to stand there and inspect. You had to balance your productivity with your service.
How has that been for you now well, how long have you been with Rentokil Terminix now?
It'll be 17 years in June. It's craziness, but time flies.
Mike, how many years again for you?
It'll be 24 in like a week.
Whew,
Yeah.
that's
Wow.
So, it's funny. I remember I would walk into these rooms, and Nancy, you remember this, like, especially with the Ehrlich branches, I would walk in and guys would be like, God, I've been, wearing the Ehrlich uniform for 27 years. And I would think, God, that's like a lifetime. Do you know what I mean? And now that I'm a little bolder, a little grayer, and getting a little closer to that number, I'm like, yeah, it doesn't seem like it's been that long. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. Time really flies. It's nuts.
Did you go right from the technician role into a technical role, or how did that work? Okay.
I did. So, they posted a position for they called it a training manager. So up until that point, the technical department, the technical services managers took turns writing out training and anything that needed to be covered from a training perspective, they just basically took turns doing it. And so wasn't necessarily in any one person's wheelhouse and no one really owned it. And
Hmm.
so they knew that there was a need to have somebody own training and obviously for consistency. And it wasn't that it was so awful, but obviously, even as a growing company too. So they wrote up the position for somebody that had technical skills, but training skills. And so I felt like they wrote the position up for me. Um, but it was just so perfect. So I got that role and I was basically like in the technical department. I reported to the technical director and I did provide technical support. So I did do, audits and I had some local branches around here and I did a lot of insect IDs. Basically, I was like the person in the company that they would mail the insects to. So it was sort of a mix.
That's great practice.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it was wow, yeah. Talk about never being bored. Be the
Yeah.
be the recipient of all of the insect IDs for the Eastern and Midwest part of the business. It was crazy.
Oh my god, I can't even imagine. I remember, Santos Portugal was trying to teach me, because I was fresh out of grad school, and he's like, "Try to ID this," and I'm like, "Where's the key for this? Who what is this? It has wings. There's not a key for this one," it's like crazy, so much
People now
fun.
have no idea. Like when you have apps like I there's an app called Seek by iNaturalist. I don't know if you guys
Mm,
use this for anything like
Oh,
that.
yeah,
mhm.
I
It
do.
does a pretty good job of at least getting you close, right? And then you can dive in from there. But like when we started, that wasn't a thing. Nancy, you were the voice on
Oh,
DVDs when I first started working here. There were
yeah,
we used to
admittedly.
send out these training DVDs every month, right? And before I knew Nancy, she was just the voice on the training DVD.
I
So
I hated the sound of my own voice, so I felt like I sounded like Charlie Brown from the Peanuts, just man, it
we've,
was great on me.
we've
But
come a
yeah, I
long
was
way.
the recording for the new hire training and the every month thing. But stacks of books and keys constantly.
Wow.
So
So,
different now.
how is it, like, from the business side? How do you guys Your business is huge, so I don't know. I've never had that experience, but how do you guys stay organized? Like, how do you make sure the information, like, gets down to the technician who, like, makes sure you gotta make sure that they understand, right? Like do you guys is there a way that you guys do it to make sure, I don't know, that information gets transferred properly?
Yeah.
Every company does it different, and that's why
Oh,
I'm just curious.
sure. You know what, Jen? Life is so much easier now with a learning management system. That really helps you stay organized because you can
True.
put your training program, you know, make it digital and it's the same for everybody. That's
Mhm.
important. We had it used to be like our biggest struggle was that monthly education. We would rely on managers to deliver the presentation. And so it evolved like, oh my gosh, like you have different managers in different parts of the country and they're delivering like a different message, even though they've got the slides in front of them. So, like adding slide notes. And now we are so big, to your point, we switched to a broadcast type format. So it's now the information comes from us and we give the whole presentation and we do it 4 times throughout the day, 1 day a month. So
Wow.
it covers it doesn't matter what time zone you're in. There's a session that you can join because it does get a little bit hairy there. I think having written protocols is super important. So from a technical perspective, and Mike could speak to that, but having things just following protocols, reinforcing following protocols. For us, like we have a trainer that's aligned to each market and they'll do market specific training because there is different needs in different areas, but they also take what's coming from like centralized like corporate training and and they're making sure it's delivered consistently in their markets and they all report to the same person, so that helps for sure.
Yeah. Holy moly. So cool. So cool. No, it sounds way more organized than my brain was making it. So
Do
that's
you know what
awesome.
though? It's funny because in my brain it's, oh yeah, it's nice and easy but I grew into this position. Like when we
Exactly.
started, we were just the Ehrlich footprint. So we were really just on the east. It was just like right around the time I started as a training manager that we acquired like Presto X in the Midwest. And then another 2 years later where we acquired Western Exterminator. And then we just grew exponentially. But because I grew with the company and I was like handling things as it came, I didn't really realize, but now when I sit back and I look at just like the depth of responsibility for 10,000 technicians and 4,500 sales for making sure that they're trained, it blows my mind a little bit. I'm glad that I grew with the company. And I could always kind of see like the strategy just in the near future rather than stepping into a role like this. I could see where it would be really intimidating.
Yeah. Mm.
So where did the crab thing come from?
Oh gosh.
Let's talk about crabs.
I
Yeah,
mean, yeah, okay, so I'm a crustacean enthusiast.
yeah.
I've always so, like, my parents have, like, a house at Long Beach Island, and, like, growing up, we
Nice.
would spend summers at the beach, and I loved crabbing. My dad taught me how to crab, and I always loved crabs, not from an eating perspective, not because I have strong convictions, I just found them kind of cute. And sassy. Like when something is sassy, I see it as a challenge. Like I'm gonna pick you up. I'm gonna pick you up and touch you and whatever. And so, as I like just kind of grew up into an adult, I never lost that fascination. I just love there's like I get like this little flip in my stomach like when I see crabs, like, oh, look how cool. And so, but now, like as an entomologist and as somebody that like knows a lot about arthropods, just so they're so fascinating from like an evolutionary perspective. So there's so many things in nature that have evolved to become crabs, to have that body structure because it works for survival. So if you
Hmm.
look like at the evolutionary history of crabs, you've got true crabs and then you've got things that have evolved into crabs or organisms that look like crabs. Well, they are crabs. But just two different major groups. So there's that. I find them adorable. I find them colorful. I find them just like sassy. I love sassy. So around 2020, when everybody was losing their minds and doing like crazy things during COVID, I decided that I was going to embrace my love of crabs and I was going to have a crab bucket list. And so I asked my wife for
I
Christmas this
love
year.
I love that for
I asked her to
marketing
buy me
purposes.
Yep. I asked her to buy me textbooks on crabs so I could learn about them. And then I asked for field guides. And so I have field guides for the East Coast, for the West Coast, for the Caribbean. And my hobby is to go out and find as many different crabs as possible. So through this, I have learned how to ID them. I'm still working on my skills. There's not like a lot of good keys out there for crabs. And they do have like these color variations. I mean, it's like insects. Like if they're juveniles, they can look completely different. But I like it has led me, this hobby has led me on so many different adventures. Right up until like a few weeks ago, I was in the Keys and my goal was to find an arrow crab. And if you never saw an arrow crab, I would really recommend you Google it, especially as entomologists. They look like little aliens, but they look like almost like spiders, like water spiders, but they're like the most bizarre looking little critters. And so I know that they're very common in the Florida Keys. So I went to the Florida Keys a few weeks ago to try to find an arrow crab.
Holy crap.
I never
What?
wound up finding the arrow
What is
crab,
that?
but let me tell you that the pursuit of finding the arrow crab led me on so many adventures. Look how cute that thing is. Look at that snoot. I mean, come on.
That's
Ridiculous.
amazing.
It's ridiculous. I have to boop it. So I wound up snorkeling under bridge pilings in the Keys because I read that that's you have a good shot at finding them there. I wound up finding all of these other crab species that I hadn't found before, and I had a bucket list encounter with a Caribbean reef octopus.
Wow.
FYI, just because they have 8 legs does not mean they use them to hug. In fact, they don't like being hugged.
Yeah.
I did find that out as I was grabbing it. Yeah, it was crazy because like this thing was huge and I'm looking at it, I'm like, am I looking at what I think I'm looking at? Oh my God, it's a giant octopus. I'm like screaming. My wife is on the shore with a camera telling me not to touch it so she can take a picture of it, but I couldn't help myself. So I bend down, I go to grab it, and I had 2 thoughts. One, am I gonna get inked? And that kind of be cool. And 2, do they bite? Is it gonna bite me? But I brace for impact. I pick it up and I hug it to me. And you know what? They're such smart creatures. They can like morph into like any shape. And so it was like slime. Like I hugged it and like just the little space between my arms and my body, it like oozed out of me like slime. It was like, oh, heck no, lady. You are not whole. I don't even know you.
Me.
It just oozed like slime and went right back into the water. And I was like, and then it went under a rock. And so I put my arm under the rock and it wrapped its legs around my arm and it activated its suckers. And then I was like, oh, good, we're going to work together. So I start pulling my arm out like very slowly. And this thing was so smart. As soon as I would pull it like a third of the way out from under these rocks, it would let go and like jet backwards back under the rocks. So I did it like a few times. And my wife was like, hey, you're torturing that poor thing. And I was like, yeah, I really am. So I left it alone after that. But that was amazing. It was, and had I found an arrow crab on my first day, I wouldn't have been in the bridge piling snorkeling that day. So I was kind of glad in a corny way that I didn't find the arrow crab. So
You clearly never read
seems-
20,000 Leagues Under the Sea when you were younger, did you?
no,
No, you're gonna have to
never.
watch that movie now. There's a giant octopus that, yeah, okay. So is it so.
Nancy, I've learned so much
She's the one.
about you.
You see the videos on Instagram when they're like, "Why did that person think they could get close to the buffalo at this national park?"
That's
And then
me.
she's like, "Oh, I have to
me.
boop it."
That's me. I probably will die someday touching something that I shouldn't have. A good way to go.
Yeah, right?
Those who follow me on social media will see that I picked up a venomous bearded fireworm too in the Keys. And that was the dumbest thing. Like, here I am, full grown adult. I should know better. I knew they were venomous, but I was showing my wife, I'm like, ooh, these are bearded fireworms and they're venomous because they were in my field guide. So what do? I scoop it up thinking like, if I scoop it up lightly, that it's not going to do anything. No, I like all of a sudden, like I looked at my hand and I had like hundreds of spines sticking out of them. My hand felt like it was on fire. I totally deserve that. And my wife is like, wait a minute, you knew? Like I had like zero sympathy from her. She was really annoyed with me. And then it took like, I fell asleep with my hand in an ice bucket that night because every time I took it off the ice, it was like on fire. I was fine the next day, but yeah.
You have to take all the individual spines out, or did they just come out?
Yeah, so I was like rubbing them. It was terrible. I'm like rubbing them on like the cement like piling of the bridge as I'm standing, like rubbing my hand trying to get them all out. And they wouldn't all come out. And so I wound up like we went into a restaurant right from where we were, and they had soap. I in the ladies' room. I used soap, but it was like the foam kind, so it worked
Burned
for
you.
most of them, but there were still a few in there. So it wasn't until I got back to my hotel room that I could grab bar soap and do it. I had like visions of, gosh, why don't I carry around like duct tape? Because that would have been like
Mhm.
Or
phenomenal to just put
gloves.
tape in
Like
my hand.
you have a whole PPE discussion. I mean, we
No,
get Nancy some gloves for Christmas so
like
she can take it.
I have to touch things. I'm very
I guess
tactile.
that's
I'm very tactile.
consequences be damned. I like it.
I need to take you to the family reunion that we have on Camano Island in Washington every year because we go crabbing and I feel like, and then we have crab hats and we go crab people. And, but honestly, after hearing your story, this has taken on a whole
Crab
new meaning.
hats. That beats these. I have crab glasses
Let's
on,
see.
man. Yeah.
Usually she
Oh,
has
man.
some kind of jewelry that is either crustacean or insect related as well. There are
Yeah.
necklaces. There are see
I
there it
think it
is.
was meant to be.
Yeah. Today's an anglerfish just because that's how he woke up on a Monday morning. He was kind of grumpy. So I'm like, I'm going to go with you today.
So
I'm
this
so happy.
not to change away from crustaceans, but how did you get involved with Pi Chi Omega? Because people ask me how I got involved, and I said I wasn't given an option. Nancy told me I was joining. So how did you
Same.
originally get? She's a heck of a recruiter.
So
Um,
I'm Sicilian.
yeah,
No, so
That
same.
explains it.
Yeah, I made him an offer he couldn't refuse. I have been fortunate enough in my professional lifetime to work under some of the greatest mentors, and one of those is Judy Black. If you don't know Judy Black, her most recent position was with Rollins, being the VP of training and quality or technical and quality. But Judy worked at Rentokil for several years, and so she was my manager, and I was presenting at the Purdue conference, and they have their Pi Chi Omega meetings there every year. And at the time, Judy was my new boss, and she was there because she was the president at the time. And she did not give me the choice either. She said, "Oh, you're here? You're going to join Pi Chi Omega." And I said, "Okay." Like I trusted her, and that was it. That the rest was history. I attended my very first Pi Chi Omega and filled out an application meeting or filled out an application, attended my first meeting. Thank you. It's Monday. Um, and sat at my very first meeting all at that one Purdue conference, and the rest is history. I would volunteer for things. I eventually found myself on the board, and then I found myself chairing the Pi Chi Omega Gives Back committee, and now I'm the incoming president for next in line. So
Congrats. So what
yeah.
are some of the things that that Pi Chi Omega does? What have you gotten involved in?
So Pi Chi Omega gives scholarships. Most importantly, so they give scholarships and they provide industry grants. So lots of opportunity to get people into the industry. But they are a social fraternity, and it's really about the people. It's about making connections, and they do have resources. We started for members, we started something called an entomologist on call program. So if you're a Pi Chi Omega member and you have a question about pest management or insect ID or whatever runs the gamut under that umbrella, you have access to an entomologist 24/7. Um, we have presentations that we have made because a lot of us, so many of us in this industry, we get asked to go to elementary schools and talk about insects or, Girl Scouts or Boy Scouts or 4-H or all that. So we've got presentations for all ages. And if you're a member, you can, pull the presentation that suits your talk off the shelf and use it. So some pretty cool resources. And then we meet twice a year. We meet at Pest World and we meet at Purdue, or like last year we met at Georgia at GPCA. And so it's just a way to connect with other people in the industry, a way to spread science and truth. And it's been pretty amazing for me. It really has enhanced my professional journey. And if I really care about you and I see your potential, Mike, I'm not going to give you a choice. I'm going
yeah.
to say you need to be
Oh,
a part of Pi Chi Omega.
I think the great thing about it is it's not just necessarily industry folks. There are students that are members of
Yeah,
Pi Chi Omega,
yeah,
right? So you can get
yeah.
involved at any point in time. So I want to do an informal poll of people who were like, "You're joining." Do you know what I mean? Not like that's all good. They have great mixers. The
Yeah.
raise the bar thing wherever you are is always a good time. But yeah, I think just this year alone, I've had 3 people. I'm like, "You're joining." You know what I mean? Let's go fill out the paperwork. So,
Yeah.
but it
Yeah.
is a great group of
It's
people.
a great opportunity. If you're
Nice.
not a member, I would absolutely put a plug in for it. Great
That's the
opportunity
coolest thing
just to
about the
meet
pest
people.
management industry too, is you can get pulled into so many things. You can't
Oh,
be bored
how
because
about it?
there's just
I just finished my stint with ESA, with the Entomological Society of America, I was sitting on the certification board for many,
awesome.
many years, and I finally aged out of that. I hit my limits. I think it was like an 8-year thing.
No way.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Were you working on redoing the ACE exam and the PHE exam? Was it?
Yeah.
Yeah,
We
maybe it
did.
was.
So we redid the PHE exam. So that should be ready very soon. That's all been submitted. Um, yeah, yeah. The CIT
That's another
exam.
that's another one
Mm.
that I think is underutilized. The IPM technician. You know what I mean? Is that for technicians that are coming up and ideally want to get into like an ACE program or something along those lines, but to have like sort of that next step for those folks that are
Yeah,
like a year and a half or so into the industry
yeah.
that want to start building.
It's like
Uh,
stepping stones. I
yeah,
agree, Mike.
yeah.
And
That's one
again,
that
it reinforces that we are professionals and we've got these, credentialing opportunities associated with us.
I learned more about snipe flies and blister beetles studying for my PhD exam than I ever thought I was going to.
Hopefully that dies with, yeah,
Well, you know what?
your
I'm gonna tell you a funny
rough
story.
edges.
So I was like, why do I care about snake flies? I'm never gonna run into these things. We rented a house this summer in Southern Ohio, right on a river. We show up and like we got there a little bit after like my brother and his wife and his kids, and they're like, man, the mosquitoes here are terrible. We're getting eaten alive. And I walked over and I was like, "Oh God, they're not mosquitoes. They're snipe flies." I was like, "I know what these are." Do you know what I mean? So
Phenomenal.
super muddy riverbank. You know what I mean? Just like perfect breeding ground for them. And I'm like, "Oh, it's like great, cool." They were the bane of my existence when I studied for this exam, and now I have real life examples. So
That's
Nobody could
perfect.
talk to snipe flies like you now, Mike.
right,
What a
exactly.
nice little feather under your cap.
Right,
I can't say
exactly.
I've ever encountered
I came up and I was like, "No, those are snipe flies." My brother was like, "Who cares,
Wait a
man?
Aren't
minute.
you?
These suck." So
They are coming in handy now.
yeah, exactly. I mean, didn't change anything that I knew what they were. They were still biting
Yeah,
the crap
no,
out of
it's
us the
true.
whole time that
It's
we were
true.
there, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh my goodness gracious. Nancy, you kept mentioning that you like sassy things, and I just wonder, like, what about your personality? What about you? What draws you to like little sassy things? Like, were you always like fighting with your twin sister or something? Or were you like, are you into MMA or like what is
What a great
what do you think
question.
about it?
Um, my sister, yeah, it was always like not fighting. I mean, like she was like a built-in best friend. I mean, we're like so identical that I don't know who I am in pictures up until like the 8th grade. I have to ask my mother. Um, but we didn't back down from a good fight. Like there's nothing like fights between siblings. You could be like punching each other one minute and then your best friends the next minute. And God forbid somebody from outside of your circle like tries anything. You're extremely protective. Um, I don't know. I think that like I have just always been adventurous and I'm always up for a good time. Like like the personality profiles, I'm a yellow, which means like my primary motivation is fun.
Yeah.
So I would say that that suits me. I'm not the kind of person that just sits and does nothing. Like I'm always into something. So my poor mother, she must have been really exhausted like growing up with having two of us cuz my sister, my twin is actually the same way I am. So, yeah, there's two of
Gotcha.
us out
Do you
there.
guys live close together still?
We do,
Like
we do. We're
that's
like
cool.
10 minutes from each other, and I like, to this day, I
Awesome.
will still run into people in like, stores that think that I'm her, and I don't know who they are. I can't tell you, like, I'll get like, "Oh, fine, don't say hi," or some lady like, I was filling up my gas tank on Christmas Day, and some lady like comes over and she wraps her arms around me. And she's like, "Merry Christmas," and I'm like, "You know my sister."
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah.
I the
So
life of an identical twin, though, it must be like, that's so crazy. That's so
We
cool.
actually were together in Florida last week. We just both happened to be down there at the same time. So what did we do when it started to get dark? We got headlamps and we got nets, and we went right over to the canal and started catching frogs and anything else. I caught a really cool little ringneck snake, but yeah, you would think that we would have grown out of it by now. We just haven't. And we pretty much like fuel each other on, so yeah.
I held the stinging worm for 10 seconds. How long can you hold it for? Right?
Does she also, have a job in the sciences or something similar?
She's a
Hands-on?
dialysis nurse, so
Well,
little
that's
different.
hands-on.
Little
Yeah.
different, yeah.
So one of the questions that we ask on this is, what was your sort of like welcome to the industry moment? I always share the fact that like I was working in a basement and I was looking into some drywall and the drywall let go and American cockroaches literally came raining down on me. So what was your like, okay, cool, I'm in pest control now.
Yeah, I had a very similar experience with, German cockroach infestation in public housing. I was following my trainer around and inspecting, and I pulled a picture out from the wall, and I had cockroaches just fly up my arms, and I had 2 of them go into my shirt. Um, and it was like it happened so fast, and I was, like, standing there like I looked like I was like a bowl of Jello, like I was trying to imitate a bowl of Jello. I was trying to, like, shake
Oof.
this thing out, but that felt very on brand for yeah, very
What we
pest
do.
control-y. Yeah, between that and going around an abandoned indoor pool and literally collecting dead rats,
Oh, that's a
that
good
was
one.
all within, like, my first couple of weeks. It didn't scare me away, so
No, and yet we stayed. I'm
here
super
we
psyched that
are.
I have an attached garage now, so when I have to strip down because I was someplace nasty, I'm not like my when I first started this, we did not have an attached garage, and there was this weird run from the garage to the house when you had to strip down, right? So now at least it's attached, so when I have to, because I was in some like super heavy bed bug infestation or
Yeah,
cockroach thing, I don't take chances. Plus, my wife would stab me if I brought that stuff home. So
your poor neighbors, your old neighbors.
right,
That's
my
probably
old
you
neighbors.
made a clean break.
And we
Yeah.
lived in we lived in one of those places where, like, you could stand in your driveway and, like, I could touch my house and touch my neighbor's house because we live so close together, you know what I mean? So, I joked that, like, they installed, like, one of those pull down shade things there after we moved in, and I'm like, "Is it the kids, the dogs, or me?" You know what I mean? Like, I'm not sure which one it is, but
I can picture you, like, running, like, half clothes yelling, "Sorry, bed bugs."
exactly, right? Look, you
That
haven't
just
you
reminded
oh, go ahead, Jen.
Mhm.
What
Oh,
were you
oh,
gonna say?
it just reminded me of I lost a tarantula in my truck one time 'cause this was in Austin, and the one had gotten caught on a glue board, and I just thought like, "Oh, cool, let me just put it on," I wanna save it, so I'm gonna put it in my truck, and then I went to open it again at the next stop, and it wasn't there, and I had no idea where it was, and then when I went to go scoop some Entice granules, it went up my arm.
Ooh.
Yeah,
Ooh.
but
Yeah.
that was really cool.
Yeah.
Thanks for
That
the
happened to
memory
me with a
of that.
garter
That's why I
snake.
love this. Hmm?
That happened to me with a garter snake. I actually put it in a
Oh, wow.
box in the back of my truck, and then when I got to the location to release it, it wasn't in the box anymore, and, I never found it. I don't
See, I don't mess with snakes. I don't think anything that doesn't have legs or wings should be able to move. I'm not a fan. I don't like snakes. I never have. That's been the one, like, those moments when you open the bait stations, the exterior bait stations, and there be snakes in there. That was the one where Mike is like, ugh, don't really want to deal with this one today. Yeah, I just don't like snakes. It's not my jam.
Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah,
Unpredictable.
just
I
weird.
think we all have our thing that we just don't love. Like, do you have one, Nancy, where you're
Oh,
just like,
100%. Stinging
what is it?
insects. Yep,
Oh,
Really? Yeah.
interesting.
100%.
So you've never
They make
tried to
you
boop
really
a yellow
nervous.
jacket?
I have not. I have that is one thing that I don't care to experience. Not that we all haven't gotten stung
Yeah.
at one time or another, but I will not purposely bring that on. I do not like treating stinging insects.
Yeah,
Huh.
I get that.
Makes sense, though.
Cool.
Hmm. Snakes for you. I'm trying to think what it is for me. I don't know. I think I guess I just don't like the environments where I find, like, American roaches and stuff just because it's normally kinda yucky. And something about the American roach, I'm just kinda good on it, just aesthetically, I'm kinda good on it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, German roaches, I'll handle them all day, they're actually my favorite. Um
Really?
Mhm.
Interesting.
Yeah. I feel so, like, vindicated, when I can get rid of them. It feels so good, and the worse,
Good
the
job.
better. Like, the worst situation is the best.
Sure.
Mm,
There's something
so
cathartic about a good clean out.
Mhm.
Do you know what I mean? Like when you can come
Yeah.
back, follow up, and you can kind of see the carnage. There is something
Yeah.
cathartic about that. I think you're like, hey, I did good work.
It's
You know what I mean? Like
satisfying. Yeah.
we killed
Yeah.
some stuff today. I'm proud of us. Yeah. So
yeah, and, like, I keep Madagascar hissing cockroaches, like, I have them as pets, so I don't know what it is, like, about other it's weird,
Yeah.
like, I think I'm better at it now, like, I've been in this industry for quite a while, but, yeah, I don't know. I think when I first started, the American cockroach, for whatever reason, was just maybe I had some experience and it turned me the wrong way, and
oh
I can
man,
handle everything else.
there's
And
something you blocked out, Jen. We have to dig into this on
I
one of
think
these
so. And I'm like,
episodes.
now that I'm talking to y'all, I'm like, what is it? What happened? I don't know.
Yeah.
Oh my
All right.
gosh.
Yeah, we all
How do
My
you
have our
get
thing.
my
how do you
wife is
get
reporting. Oh, go ahead.
your hissing cockroaches? You have them at the house? They don't smell? You don't have an issue with that? Like
They don't actually smell too bad. Like you think of German roaches, they smell kind of musty and stuff. These guys, not really. I mean, you keep
Yeah.
them with leaves and stuff, just kind of, smells like. And also, I'm trying to sell them. I have, they're kind of breeding like crazy, so I've probably got, like, closer to 75, 100 now, so I need
Oh
to get rid of
wow.
some. They're very successful. I had 3 molting yesterday, so they were just the big old white 3-inch things, and, kind of fun for my, year-and-a-half-year-old to look at, but,
Yeah. Yeah. You're
won't
gonna
get him
the
interested.
cockroaches are gonna do what cockroaches do.
Yeah, it just kinda gets out of hand. What were you saying, Nancy, with you and your sister?
Oh, I was gonna say, no, my wife was born and raised in Puerto Rico, so we
Mm,
go to Puerto Rico on occasion to see family. And the first time that she ever took me there, um, I at that point I was a new entomologist, but an entomologist nonetheless. And I remember her mom and her sister were like screaming. We're at her parents' house, and they started screaming, and I looked, and it was an American cockroach just like running up the wall. But I just found it funny that they were screaming. They lived there all their lives, so that's was not like an uncommon sight. But I also was like, oh my gosh, this is so cool. And I like chased after it, and I didn't make like I think the best first impression. They were like, who is this weirdo that you brought here?
I do
Um,
think it's funny, like
yeah.
up here in the north, obviously, I didn't know what a palmetto bug was, right? And then the
Mm.
first time you go down south, they're like, oh, that's the palmetto bug. I'm like, no, that's a cockroach. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So it's just
Or a
making
water
sound
bug.
noise. Yeah, water bug's another one, right? He's like, oh, it's a water bug. Really? No, that's a cockroach. So
Oh my
yeah, it's
gosh.
funny that they're still because it's like, yeah, you guys are around these all the time, but they fly and they're unpredictable. So, like, it makes sense, you see a mouse, you scream, you see that, but, do they call you now, like, if you're visiting? Or are they like, "Nancy, come get this?"
No, I think they still don't encourage me. They don't need to.
Your wife's told them, "Just let her do her thing, just leave her alone, ignore her."
They have, like, her parents' yard alone, they have, the Nasuti termites, so they've got, like, the big, like, tree, like, the big arboreal nests,
Yeah.
and so there's tubes running down trees, so, like, the first thing I'll do when I get there is I'll just break a chunk off the tube just to watch, like, the soldiers run right to the edge,
Heck
and then,
yeah.
like, within hours, they'll rebuild it, but, like, they don't ask anymore, like, they don't say, "Where's Nancy?" Like, they know if I'm not in the house with them, that I'm outside playing with something, um
just walk in. Hey,
they've
mom.
come to accept me. They've
Right.
come to accept me, but our my very first morning there, like, when I first went, my very first trip, we sat down to eat breakfast, and there was in the center of the table a big bowl of water, and then within that big bowl of water was another bowl floating, and it had pastries in it from the local bakery, and I was like, "What a beautiful presentation. This is so interesting." Like, and I'm asking, like, "Terry, did you grow up like this?" My wife, and she said, No, that's to keep the ants off the pastries because it's so many ants. Everything is like sort of open air where they have like all of these like ghost ants and all kinds of crazy things. So that's what they do. So it was like DIY pest control. So then I'm taking pictures of it, and her family's like looking at me like, why is she taking pictures of the pastries in the bowl of water? Because that was like pest control.
That's crazy.
It was very cool.
Nancy, what are some of like some things that you would love to do in the next however many years? Just things that you still feel like you want to accomplish.
Things that I want to accomplish.
Yeah, like
Um,
work wise, things you want to implement, or just things you find yeah, I felt like just I always had like some project, like, oh, I can't wait to just tackle this. If I had the time, I would love to do this. Is there anything either in your personal or professional life that you're just like, I really want to tackle this? Like, I would feel like I just
yeah.
want to get.
So recently I got promoted over sales training. And so like I can tell you like professionally in the company that I'm in, I've always wanted to be over sales and service training because there's so many things that are similar and there's if you train them together, you can kind of grow them together and because there's always that sales and service divide. So this is something that I was recently put over and now I'm like thrilled because I've wanted it for years and we're right in the throes of like launching these new like shared training experiences. So I'll tell you how that goes. So there's that, and I'm living it right now. I would love to see in the future. I would love to be a part of um, just this whole AI transformation and how we can utilize it better. And I'm seeing like these online coaching and training models that are completely AI. And I think they're really going to change the way we train and work. So I'm excited to be a part of that. And as far as like industry efforts go, I would love to be part of an effort where we start aligning states around licensing because that is just such
I would,
a
yeah.
crazy thing. All states are different requirements, different this, and I'd love to see us align. I feel like AI is going to help us with a lot of things there too. Like I feel like you could rewrite an exam now using AI, and you could do it pretty efficiently. So there really should be no more excuses for things that are outdated or
Yeah.
we don't have time and things like that. So I would love to be a part of those efforts as an industry and see us kind of unite from a state level.
That's an awesome point. Yeah,
And
the
to find the
licensing
aerocraft. Don't forget about that.
and
And from a personal level, I still need to get my hands on an arrow crab. And bucket list is coconut crabs. Those are in the, you know,
Coconut crabs?
I'm gonna have to
yeah,
Google that one too.
the
Yeah.
Pacific South Pacific. Coconut crabs. They're like massive, massive, massive animals. And please Google that. They're enormous. They live in trees and they use their massive claws to crack coconuts. But when I say they're enormous, they are like enormous. So I
They
need to go
coconut
there. Yeah.
coconuts are hard to crack,
Yeah.
man.
Coconut crabs are no joke.
Yeah,
So
can
that's
we
a
maybe
bucket list.
What?
I was gonna say, can we maybe not handle those, Nancy? Because like, you don't wanna come back missing digits.
Yeah.
What?
So yeah. There's like videos of coconut crabs like surrounding people like on a picnic. They are yeah, there's that one picture of the one like wrapped around an entire garbage can. So bucket list item coconut crabs, second bucket list item is Christmas Island or a crab migration. I know they also happen in South America, Central America too. So finding a crab migration and witnessing that firsthand, another bucket list item.
So,
Nice.
wow. Wow, wow, wow. I've got more Googling to do.
I
But
know,
thank
right? There's a lot of homework to do.
yeah. Like, it's weird. It kinda looks like a velvet mite, like, but huge. Like, just the look of them is really strange. It's
Yeah,
throwing
they
me
are
off.
crazy. They're crazy. They would look just like a hermit crab would look without the shell.
Like, yeah, I mean, people listening to this won't be able to, but look at those front
Those are
legs.
Yeah.
huge.
Yeah.
The
Treat
heck?
yourself to coconut crabs if you don't know what they are.
Yep. Oh, well, thank you, Nancy. Mike really wanted you on today, and I wanted you on today, and I hope to meet you in person someday. But it's been so cool
Likewise.
getting to know you and all your hobbies, and just thank you so much for being
Yeah,
here.
thank you both for asking me. Thank you for letting me blather on about the things that I love most for an hour. My
This is
gosh, this is
beautiful. That's
wonderful.
what this is. It's three people hanging out, just chatting.
Yeah, for sure.
So
Time flies when
Had a
you're having
great
fun.
experience.
awesome. All right. All right.
Bye,
Thanks,
Nancy.
Nancy.
Thanks so much.
Likewise.
Bye.
See ya.
Take care.